Alright, so welcome back to White House Farm. What we're doing today is we're going to do impeller change. We're going to go ahead and get the old one out of here and install a new one, and I'll show you a little bit of tips and tricks along the way and make things a little easier. So here's our Sterndrive right here, and if you haven't watched the video yet on making a Sterndrive holder, that's all it is. I used some scrap wood to build this, and it's really simple, and it works great for doing stuff like this, for changing out the impeller and all that. So all right, without further ado, let's get on to this and start taking it apart and see what we got in here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is go ahead and start draining this, and you're just going to use a regular flathead, and you're going to take out this screw up here and this screw down here. Just using a simple flathead. Start with the bottom and get this out, and don't forget about your, there's a little like O-ring with it, a seal to prevent the oil from coming out. Make sure you get that out as well. I'm really not even sure if there's anything in this. A little something. And if for some reason it didn't have drain screw seals for it, here they are right here, and there's the part number. And that's all they are. But I'm gonna get a pick in there and see if it's in there. Looks like part of an old one. Definitely needed to be replaced. Alright, now we can go ahead and remove this top screw right here. This will help help it drain. And you can actually see the O-ring there on this one, the seal. Yeah, you can actually see that one right there. It's yellow. So the bottom one definitely needed to be replaced. All right, while this is draining, we're gonna go ahead and remove, there's 2 bolts on the bottom here, or 2 nuts. And we're gonna go ahead and use a 5/8 to remove those 2. And then you got your anode here, which up top, once you pop a cap off here, this goes down in here, and that's a 3/8. So that needs to be removed. And then there's, once we get this off, there's one more bolt that goes up in there that we need to remove. And then this one right here. And then we can go ahead and loosen these up, but not all the way. We'll leave them a little bit on, and we'll knock this down to go ahead and separate it. Then we'll get it in our stand, and then remove both those nuts on each side. All right, so we'll remove these 2 first. All right, now we'll go ahead and remove that one. And now you can see that other bolt up there that we got to remove, and that's a 8mm. Yeah. All right, so now that we got all those out, we can go ahead and loosen up these two nuts. There's one here and there's one here. And actually I just noticed something on this. They got a hose clamp, or otherwise known as a worm gear, around that for some reason. I'm wondering why. That shouldn't be there though. I wonder if they're having issues with something. But also, what is this? Well, that definitely doesn't belong there. That looks like it came off when they were taking this out of the bell housing. But yeah, that shouldn't be there. So we'll take a look at that. And we do have spare parts. Spare parts one over there. If you watch my other video on that one, actually wore a hole right into the side of it. All right, once again, 5/8. So we'll go ahead and loosen these up. All right, sometimes you gotta tap on this with like a rubber mallet or something, but this is actually slipping down. Look at, you can see daylight through there. So we'll let this finish draining here, and then we'll go ahead and put our stand under here, and then we'll go ahead and pull the top off. But yeah, you can see it's already split, so we don't need to whack on it. It's gonna come apart nicely. And we can also inspect the inside and see what the impeller looks like and everything else, and go from there. Hopefully everything looks good. I mean, we are doing the impeller change anyway, so I mean, you should do that every 1 to 2 years, because they do wear out. And like I said, I'll show you some tips and tricks to get them in there without having to struggle, and also where to grease up everything in there. That way everything goes together good and works nice and smooth for you, and you have no dry starts with the impeller. All right, so that's almost done draining here. Let's go ahead and get it in our holder over here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at it. All right, now we'll go ahead and take those two nuts off each side, and it should drop down into this. All right, there's the second one. And as you saw it drop, so now we can go ahead and pull this up out of there. right, so there we go. We got the bottom separated from the upper. Here's our upper. I did want to look at this. I wonder if it's just they put that there because there was a bunch of slop in it. Not sure. That's up all the way though. Should be down. But we'll take that off and take a look, and maybe inside here just got hogged out a little bit. And that's why they did that, to keep it just from falling down too much. We'll have to see. We'll take that off, but let's go ahead and do what we're supposed to do here. And that's the impeller. And I don't see the oil gasket here, which that's very important. You'll have oil coming out the sides and everything. Hopefully it's up in here. Yep, there it is. Okay, so that's good. So it was holding oil. Yeah, because if you leave this part out, you're going to be wondering why you have oil everywhere and why it's just seeping down the sides. A lot of people forget that. But, alright, let's get into this. Alright, so for this nut, and this nut, you're going to use a 7/16 to get those off. And then this one over here is going to be a 1/2 inch for that one. And this actually looks pretty clean and good, but in order for this to slide off even better, you can go ahead and spray it down with some like carb cleaner, and you can use some green, like a green scrubber, to go ahead and clean this off. So here's the green scouring pad, and you could use brake clean, carburetor, whatever, just to clean this up here. And we're going to want to remove this O-ring here. And then get in here where that O-ring was. You can clean these out. Alright, so you can see how good that looks now. Should get it that clean. Now this should slide off a lot easier. And when we're putting this back on, we're going to load this back up with marine grease, the whole thing, that way everything slides on nice. But got rid of a lot of the grooves and stuff. Yeah, just use a green scouring pad for that. And you can pull your water tube out. Now we'll remove these 3 nuts. Use the 1/2 inch for this one. Alright, so you got a seal that's right here as well. And pop this up. There it goes. Voila, look at that. That's why you do these every 1 to 2 years and always check them, service them. Because look at that. That actually snapped off in there. So this wasn't cooling the engine down like it should have been. And obviously wasn't running properly. So yeah, it's a good thing we're going through this. And I actually have a whole new one of these. And I also have an entire bottom, so we can replace the entire impeller, upper and lower, for this. And you always want to remember which way those fins are facing, because that's how it's going to go back in there. You want them facing the same direction. So you could, if you're ever using this case and just putting a new impeller in, then just remember the orientation. If not, you could actually use this as your little go-by for putting your new one in. Alright, so let's go ahead and take our keyway off here. And that's all it is. That's what the impeller sits down into. So we'll set that there. And now we can go ahead and pull this off. And once again, remember your orientation with this, because it's a couple pieces. There's actually three pieces here, 2 gaskets and then a steel. So just remember how that goes. Now we can go ahead and pop this up. Alright, so here's our new impeller kit. Alright, so you see that took some pressure to get that off of there. This thing, I don't think has ever been changed out. Ugh. Yeah, I think that's original to the Sterndrive. And got the old gasket in here. Yeah, that thing's just falling apart anyways. So it's definitely time to replace this, both upper and lower of the impeller. And while we're in here, we just want to inspect, make sure everything looks good. And I'll give you a close-up here. See, none of the bearings look like they're broke, and this is actually really nice and smooth. So that all that stuff looks good. If you did see something, then obviously then we really get into it, and then we'd have to take apart the back side here. That right there, pull that out, and then get into this, and that could be a nightmare. But luckily, everything looks good. It's nice and smooth. So we'll just go ahead and clean this up in here, and then we'll go ahead and put our new one in there. All right, for now that we got the right part in for the base, that's the number right there. We'll go ahead and take this out. And there it is right there. And we can go ahead and compare it with our other one. And that is the correct one. We're going to need to go ahead and grease this up and put this on here. It's going to get greasy. Load it up. And we're gonna throw a little grease down here in the bearing. Alright, so before we throw this on, we're going to want to put our gasket in here. Make sure it's the right one. They'll slide all the way down. And you got the hole opening there, just like it is on there. Now you can take this, the base plate, and actually we'll put a little grease in here too. Just grease it all up. There we go. You can slide this on over. And slide that down on there. And that should go right into place, just like that. There it goes. You want to make sure that this is flush down here. You'll be able to see if there's a gap or not there. But that's on there. Now we can take our second gasket. This goes on here just like this. Take our metal one. That part's going to face down where it sticks up. So I'll go down. Just like that. And then our final gasket here, gonna go on right over top of that one. Just like that. And it should all line up together. And just make sure you put a little bit of grease back here in this area. I'd already had some there from when I had to pull the other base plate off and put some because we didn't have the right base. This is the right base for it. Now we can grease up our keyway. And put that on here. Yep, just like that. Make sure your impeller is greased up really good. You can grease the shaft up too. Slip that on down there. Line it up with the keyway. Yep. You're gonna get greasy, so now you can take the top and put this on. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna turn the shaft clockwise and push down, and it'll slip right in. As you can see, it's just sitting on top of it right now. Just like that. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna apply some pressure to the top of this, and we're gonna turn our shaft, we're gonna turn it clockwise. So you should feel it actually go in once you start turning this, and this is the easiest way. A lot of grease on here, so. All right, so we're just gonna turn this clockwise and apply down pressure. And it slips right into there. Nice and easy. See, and now it's all down and it's in there. So that's just a quick and easy, simple trick for if you're trying to get your impeller on. You don't need to struggle with it. Just take a look at it that way. And if you want to double check, make sure that you have your old impeller. Here's our old one. You can see why we're replacing it. That one's all busted up. And you could take this and pull this off now. All right, so grease. We got everything all greased up and all set here. Let's go ahead and get this bolted back on. All right, so now that it's all bolted back on, we already greased this up. You know, replace the O-ring on here. Yeah, there we go. Last but not least, the most important thing, your oil seal here. So make sure this is cleaned out really good. And what you're gonna do, yep, you guessed it, a little bit of grease. Yeah, and that'll help hold this piece in here, right here, that little O-ring. So you're just gonna put a little bit of grease in here, just like this. Yeah. And then you're gonna take that and get that in there. There we go. So that's all back together now. One other spot that you need to grease is this right here. Now we can run some more grease on here. Grease up our water tube really good. Okay, let's clear all this stuff up and get it over and reconnect it. All right, put that one in first. That's for connecting the two pieces, the upper and lower. I'll get our anode on there. All right, so we're all set. It's all back together. And next thing we'll do, we'll go ahead and take the top off, inspect that. Everything else looks good, just needs a good cleaning and some re-greasing. But we got to make sure we inspect in there and maybe put a new top O-ring in to seal it up. And then we'll go ahead and put some oil on this, and this will be ready to be slapped on any of the boats. So, all right. Whew. All right. So once again, we hope you guys like, enjoy, subscribe, check out the other videos, and as usual, we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
can't say goodbye without saying goodbye to me.
All right, Olaf. We'll see you on the next one. All right. Bye, Obo.
Hi, guys.